Hello, I'm Scott Paulson, and Lori Bailey of the downtown Central Library that we're all so fond of, the San Diego Public Library. She's asked me to do a little theremin show and tell because we're coming up on Halloween, and theremin is such a wonderful, spooky instrument. It was invented around 1915, 1918 by Leon Theremin, also known as Lev Theremin. He was a Russian physicist, and he quite accidentally invented this musical instrument, and he named it after himself, which one should do if one invents an instrument. There are radio signals coming from this antenna and radio signals from that antenna, and my body, my hands, are kind of acting as a capacitor and allow those radio signals to be heard. This antenna, this vertical antenna, it has a high note if I'm close. Here's a high note. Very simple high note. And if I go all the way back to my shoulder, it should be a nice low note. Should go a little lower than that, but I'm in cramped quarters right now. This other hand, this horizontal antenna, this horseshoe antenna, that is basically volume. As I start to raise this hand, you'll start to hear something. And it gets louder and louder and louder as I go up, and quieter and quieter and quieter as I go down. It's also how I articulate a note. I have a little short note. I just pull a string, kind of like pulling a string for a nice short note. And when you put it all together, sometimes you can get something that sounds as beautiful as a violin and as handsome as a cello, but most of the time what I'm getting is these wonderful spooky sounds that I like to do. So here's an exaggerated vibrato that's, it's just frenetic and fun. This instrument is great to use for sci-fi films and horror films. I do a lot of work with silent films, and this, was born in the silent era, so I do feel comfortable using that for this. So it's still fun though to play off of something with this theremin. So I brought my harp with me, and let me do a little quick, short, spooky interlude. And you can detune a bit. Here we go. It's also very effective. Or you can just have a more hooty sound that's simpler. And it can be brighter if I want to do. Here's less bright. Here's more of a hooty sound that I do kind of like sometimes. That's much more mellow, and I do like that. But sometimes people just want that sort of scary insect-like sounds where it's quite bright. Also, I love using this instrument in my shows and letting the audience play on it. Oh, I wish you were here, Lori, because if you wanted a high note, you'd be close to this antenna, as you know. Low note is way back here. Excuse me, Lori, pardon me. And everything in between. You can draw in the air, or you can have special decided upon hand formations, hand positions. Usually you can get a beautiful octave if you're like this, and then like that. It was a little flat, but that was close. And you should always you want some strength with this hand, so the thumb is very important, and then positioning out can be important. Oh, and this is the perfect pandemic instrument, because technically there should be no one within 6 feet of you, which is hard to enforce. But a real theremin person will insist that there be no one within 6 feet. And sometimes nothing is one of the things, but it's nice to have my harp nearby to play off of. So, Lori, let's end with a tiny, spooky interlude in honor of Halloween. So have a great Halloween, everyone, and thank you for letting me show this theremin to you. And remember, if you invented an instrument, name it after yourself. Thanks for inviting me over, Lori, and I'll see you at your wonderful San Diego Central Library.